All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you right here on Your World. My name is Winnie Lubembe, and today on the show we tackle education, all right? And we just want to understand, first of all, what exactly is happening in our education system, because a lot of students, and we have seen this over time, that most of them would prefer or would opt to study abroad. All right, so the big question is, what exactly is happening? Is it in search of greener pastures? Is it that when you have a certificate from abroad, you're guaranteed of better job opportunities and better offers at the same time? So that is what we want to figure out from today's conversation, because again, like we all know, it is said that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it. Today, sadly, this isn't always the case, as many students unexpectedly do not have a promising future despite working hard. So now many are choosing to look for study opportunities abroad. So the question is, does it mean that our education system is not quality, all right, or is not offering quality, education to set them apart? And does having a certificate, like I said, guarantee better job opportunities? And what are some of the mistakes that people do during the process? And that is as far as looking to get opportunities to study abroad. So we interrogate all that in today's conversation right here on Your World. So if you have ever tried to look for study opportunities abroad and you want to share your story with us, feel free to do so at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter. Or if you want to call in live and tell us how your experience has been so far, again, feel free to do so. And we look forward to what you have to say. Again, it's at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us. All right. So without further ado, my guests are already here. Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, who is an education expert. Dr. Thank you so much for always making time for us. Really, really appreciate your time. And it's good to see you this morning. And we also have Bob Mwiti, who is Director, Kenya Airlift Program. Good to have you this morning as well. Karibu sana. You, first of all, run a program that helps students, bright students at that matter, to go and study abroad. But you also studied abroad, right? No, you started University of Nairobi, and then strikes zilikuwa mingi sana. Went to Strathmore University, and then later on you went and got a job and did your master's, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the big question is, first of all, why? Why not have your master's here in the country, and what was the experience like? Because a lot of people do not have the actual picture of what exactly it is like before you even get to that scholarship, and even when you get to that scholarship, getting the student visa in itself, and even studying and staying abroad, what that is like. All right, so before we talk about what we need to know, the ins and outs as far as looking for these opportunities are concerned, let's first of all take a look at your story, because you said that is what informed your decision to start this program. Yeah, correct. So can we go back?
All right, so thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to Kenyans. My name is Bob Mwiti, and I live in the US. I've been living there for the last 14 years. I live in a city called Tampa, in a state called Florida. So I went to the US in 2009. But before then, I was actually a student at Strathmore University. Like you said, I did BCom, Accounting and Finance. Before that, I was a student at Kubo High School in Meru County. Yeah, so grew up in Meru County at a village called Gikomene. And that's why I did my KCPA, passed well. But because of, school fees issues, I was admitted to Nairobi School but couldn't get in. So I ended up going to Kubo High School. And after that, then I went to University of Nairobi for some time. Then I left, as you said, and then I completed my bachelor's at Strathmore. Okay. So I got an opportunity to go to the US in 2009, and I went there for my master's. I went to a university called Indiana University of Pennsylvania. And then I graduated in 2011. Then, after that, then I worked in corporate America for about 5 years. I used to work for a Fortune 500 company back in Tampa. And then after that, I figured out, I needed to really solve some problems that a lot of bright Kenyans face, which I actually personally faced myself.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear, what exactly happened? What were the challenges for you that you figured, we could actually help a lot of people, to deal with this problem?
Yes, so my journey actually took so long because first I was denied visa 4 times. I got visa at the 5th attempt to get to the US. And of course also challenges to do with, I figured out that there's a lot of bright Kenyans out there who love to go and study abroad, but they don't have the finances because, for example, if you want to go and study in the US, it would cost you about 5 million Kenya shillings on average. And not many Kenyans out there have that kind of money. So it's a big challenge. And of course also, even, let's say for example, if someone gets an opportunity, they get maybe a scholarship on the other side to go and study, even that process of actually leaving Kenya and going to the US, it's costly. Yes. Right now, for example, we've been trying to relocate those who got visas for fall. And on average, tickets to go to the US one way, it's about 1,800. That's over 200,000, just the tickets. And now you have tickets, you have visa fees, you have something called service, you have immunization that you have to do. You also have to figure out where you're going to stay, you know, even if you have a scholarship on the other side. So it's a costly affair. And I figured out that I really needed to solve that problem. So what I did was I came up with the Kenya Airlift program. And basically what we do in the Kenya Airlift program is we basically finance students' relocation, tuition, and living expenses, because also when you're on the other side also you have to figure out utakuwa unakaa wapi, utakuwa unakula nini, hata kama umelipua school fees. So those are the challenges that mostly African students face to go and study abroad. And then also something that people really don't know is about how do you transition, because like what Professor said here, sometimes you find people also want to go study and maybe even work there for some time, maybe later on come back, like the way we've done. But still, for you to actually be able to go and work there after school, how do you transition? Because if you go to the US, for example, you go on a student visa. But then again, how do you transition from being on a student visa to actually getting the visa that allows you to live and work there? It's a big challenge that a lot of African students don't even know before they go abroad. And it's a big problem. So also we wanted to solve that in the Kenya Airlift program. And basically what we do is we hold students' hand in terms of, you know, how they have to figure out the whole process. Because it's a process that if you're on your own, you basically go, you know, you're going to make a lot of mistakes like I did, for example. Me, I had even to extend school by 1 semester because I couldn't get a job immediately. In as much as people think that when you go abroad, you're going to get a job, you know, after you're done with school. It takes a lot of time. And even for you to get a job and get those right documents to live and work there, you need a company that can actually sponsor you. And for you to get sponsored, you need to have skills that most Americans, let's say for example in the US, you have to get skills that Americans don't have. Because at the end of the day, even here in Kenya, at Upper Kenya, by the way, come, for example, there's a foreigner who want to get a job here. Huwezi pata just kazi just like that. The company that is hiring you, they have to prove to the government that uko na skills zenye Wakenya hawana. And so that's really what happens on the other side as well.
So the big question is, and like you're saying, it's not an easy process. You have to go through, you know, a lot of processes. And even so, there's still no guarantee that number one, you will get a slot. In these universities. So what is it that is different there that is not being offered here? Because like you said, you need at a minimum, 5 million Kenyan shillings, which a lot of people would not afford, but still we see a lot of them want to go. So what is it that is working there that we all want to go, right? That is not being offered here, that is unique, that we all want to have a slice of?
All right, first of all, let me say this. Actually, Kenyan education is good. There is quality in our education. I went to school here for my undergrad, and I can compare both because I did my undergraduate here, I did my master's here, there. And in as much as we think, well, abroad, you know, maybe education system is much more quality, still there's some quality here. But generally, if you go abroad as a student, there's a lot outside of just books. There's a lot to learn, you know, because let's, for example, in the US, they allow on a yearly basis about 1 million international students. And if you go there as a Kenyan, you're going to be interacting with students from other countries, not just the Americans, Indian students, Chinese students, you know, students from all kinds of backgrounds. And that's a big deal because you learn a lot from what these other students bring, you know. And even from my own experience, in fact, actually, I always say this, because once I was done with my master's, I transitioned to get into the tech space, even though I had a BCom.
A totally different, yeah.
Totally different space. But guess what? How do you think I got into the tech space? Because actually, I learned from other international students. Because what was happening is, I was looking at all the Africans or Kenyan students that I knew from my school. We have very few of us. And actually, all of us were struggling because, like I said, even I had to extend school by 1 semester because I couldn't find a job immediately.
But you see, Dr. also said, listen, even here in the country, we have international students, right?
Yes.
So there's that option to also interact with people from other institutions, not institutions, but from other parts of the country as well. So I'm really looking for that unique thing that we can get there. But even before you think about, I mean, as you think about that, people would also be curious to see, because we're trying to understand the whole Finland saga and so many other, programs that are run by private, entities or organizations who say we offer scholarship, right? So you come, you pay some certain fee, and then you get into the program, and then we give you, we help you through the process, because again, there's still no guarantee, right? So the difference between that and the Finland saga, because there were also promises that were made, and majority of the times, and what Mercy said when I was watching her story is, we trusted because this was a county government initiative. So it was very easy for them to trust that this is something legit, but then, turns out to be something totally different. So I'll come back to you to really understand how that works. Do these people that you help go out, are they expected to pay back? Because we've seen a lot, happen. Where, yes, once you're done with the studies and whatnot, you need to pay back the money, right? So then how does that work for you, and how is it different from this whole Finland, saga thing? And I'm pretty sure there's so many other Kenyans who are watching us this morning and saying, yeah, I was promised by so-and-so, I was promised by this institution that runs this particular agency, I was promised, and so many people, because again, parents want better for their children in terms of education, in terms of opportunities and all those things. So it will be very easy for a parent to, again, hearing what Mercy was saying, to find ways and means to get this money, because my child has an opportunity to study abroad and then come back home, possibly, and help us as a family. And that is what a lot of parents were saying. So what are some of these red flags that then people need to be aware about when you're talking about such programs? One of the things that clearly comes out is, they're essentially just funding for their own education. It's just that, these people are trying to make it look like they're helping, but really they weren't.
All right. So first of all, I think listening to Mercy, students need to understand that also, students and parents needs to understand that there's nothing that is guaranteed also in this whole process. Okay. Whether you're using whatever program that they had or any other agency, because at the end of the day, even getting admission to a school, it's the school that makes that decision.
Okay.
Hata kama umepitia sijui agency gani or the government or whatever, it's the school that makes that decision. Issues to do with visas, it's actually the prerogative of the US government, Canadian, Finland, whatever, to issue visas.
Yeah.
You might end up actually getting admission, but still not get the visa. But
then why go through these agencies? I mean, if nothing is guaranteed, because majority of the times people would say, I could go through agency X because there are better chances. There is sort of like a partnership, and like for example in schools, that if I come to your agency, I sort of have a guarantee that I would go get the slot, because there is some sort of partnership. But then if that is not the case, then why go through the agencies in the first place?
Well, for example, like us,
Okay.
So we work with about 10 universities in the US.
Yeah.
And basically what we do is we negotiate tuition fee waivers for students. We negotiate a few other things, because mostly, like for example, international students, there are some things that you are required to provide to the school, which are sometimes not necessary. Okay. If you don't have like an agency that is supporting you through this process, you may be asked to provide, for example, evaluation of transcripts, which is the school needs, but from where we stand, maybe we don't need it. Things like, for example, test of English as a foreign language, things like those. But if you are going, for example, through an agency, maybe some of those things might be waived. If it's an agency, for example, like us, I'm not talking about the government that was running that program. Now, but at the end of the day, even though there is MOUs between the agencies or the organizations with the universities, still even admission is not guaranteed, because sometimes also you find that we may apply to you to a school, but for that intake, this class is already full.
Okay.
You had all the qualifications, but the school cannot accept you. So you may be pushed to the next intake, which will be the next year.
Yeah.
So you may find yourself, you are thinking you would go to the US or Canada, maybe this year, but you end up actually spending maybe 2 years before you leave.
Okay.
And of course also you may be denied visas.
And this
like
person
I said, I was
already
denied visa so many times, so you can be denied even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
And
times.
we hear that aspect. But then again, now that I'm joining your agency, so I have to pay some money, right?
Yes.
To the agency.
Correct.
So if I do not get a slot, okay,
Yeah.
within the specific time frame, so
Yes.
what's going to happen? Are you going to return my money?
So-
or if I get the slot, manage to finish school, manage to get a job, do you expect me to pay your money back? Because again, like you said, a lot of agencies would run and say we offer scholarship programs, but really they aren't scholarship programs. Very quickly, the question that I asked, will you expect to pay my money back? Pay your money back as well, very quickly, and then we'll finish with the tie, because we really need to end the show like right now. So very, very quickly in terms of what people need to know.
All right. So in the Kenya Lift program, we finance mostly our students through unsecured student loans,
All right.
which are actually supposed to be repaid later once they're done with school.
Okay.
Repayment period is 10 years. 6 months after you graduate, you start repaying. Whether you're in the US or back here in Kenya, you still have to repay your loan. So maybe one thing that I need to emphasize.
Very quickly, in like 10 seconds.
Sometimes students think that this whole process is a scholarship, which is usually not, because also you can hear from them. So you really need, as a student, you need to understand whether this is a full scholarship or whether it's an arrangement where you have to take a loan and pay back, things like those, so that you are well aware before you get into the program, and that will, get rid of all the uncertainties that you may have.
So due diligence is what you're saying.
Due
pretty
diligence
much,
very, very important.
All right.